Oh, that music's so intense. It's like going to a big action movie. Big up, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to another show, guys. Don't forget, guys, once you're in here, please hit that like button straight away. Subscribe if you're new. Share the video as well. All that good stuff, guys. On the way to 4K. Today we've got a debutant on the show. We got Ben. How you doing, Ben? How's things going, my man?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Thank you. Thanks for getting me on. I know it's been a while we've been talking about it, so it's good to be here. You guys are going to have to forgive me for today because I've got mad hay fever, so if you hear me sniffing, that is why. But yeah, no, all good. On the back of a win, it's always good, in it, to talk about Liverpool on the back of 3 points, so can't complain, mate.
Oh, definitely. Big up everyone in chat as well. Big up Josh, Jen, and Redbird, Doug. Hope you're doing well. Bajan in the house as well. Maisie and Ant. Big up to all you guys in the chat and everyone coming in. So on the agenda today, guys, what we're going to do, we'll just talk about a little bit of the Liverpool Forest game from the weekend. And then we're going to go into the main objective of this video, talking about what has happened to Liverpool Football Club this season. Where's it gone wrong? Who's to blame? Pick it apart a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about Trent's new position and what is that for the future. And yeah, the summer transfer window coming up with being linked to anyone who can run, basically. Anyone who can run, Liverpool being linked to. And the Jude Bellingham stuff won't go away. We're going to talk about that as well because, yeah, they're making us hold on for hope. And I don't know, something weird's happening there, in my opinion, that we might talk about as well. But yeah, so guys, hit that like button. Everyone knows what to do. We're going to talk about it right now. We're going to talk about Liverpool Forest, Ben. 3-2, a 3-2 win at home at Anfield. Weird game, patient game. Klopp said it himself. The team had to be patient and take their time against Nottingham Forest. We know what Forest are going to do. They're not going to come to Anfield and just lay down and let us whoop them. That's just they go battle. They go compete. They go make it as difficult as possible. And what I will say straight off the bat, if this game was 4 or 5 weeks ago, I think we lose it or draw it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I've noticed the last few weeks, I don't know about you, but the last few weeks, I've noticed we've got our fight back a little bit. You know, a bit more of aggression in the way we play. We're getting in people's faces again. And the tempo's gone up a little bit in recent games. You know, the way we played against Arsenal. You know, the Leeds game, we saw a better counter press. And against Forest, yeah, it weren't great. But we got the 3 points. And as I said 4 weeks ago, I don't know if we have won that game, Ben.
No, absolutely, mate. Spot on. I think the main thing about the Forest game, which we, like you say, we haven't seen this season, is when we concede a goal, our heads have just dropped this season, and we've just sort of not looked like, getting back in it. And there's been some games where we've literally conceded 1 goal, and you're like, oh, well, we're not going to win. A point's probably going to be the most we get now. But this game at home against Forest, it was a bit different. Every time they replied, and they did, fair play to them, they gave it a proper go. We also responded, and to be fair, we probably should have been 2 or 3 up at half time from set pieces alone. I don't know what it is about Virgil, but he hates a goal against Forest. I remember in the first game we played against him of the season, he should have scored a hat-trick. And on Saturday, he misses that good chance. I think Nico Williams clears one off the line. So, it was evident in the first 45 that this game was going to be won or lost on set pieces. And yeah, we just kept going, and the quality wasn't always there. But I think when you're in these situations that we find ourselves in now, the most important thing is the 3 points. The performance is obviously important, but right now, we just have to get these wins ticked off, and that's what we did. A lot to discuss about the game. I'm not sure how much we're going to go into it now, but it's just nice because I went to the game as well. So from a personal perspective, coming away from the ground with 3 points when it's not been like that for a lot of this season, let me just say that. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it's good. So you was at the game. So what was the feeling in the crowd? It was a slow first start off, wasn't it? It took a long time for Liverpool to get going. What was the feeling amongst the crowd then?
I'm from a personal perspective, when I'm at a game, I'm always like relaxed and confident because you're there, you see the guys right in front of you. I'm a lot more relaxed at a game than I am than I'm at home. When I'm at home, I lose my head a bit when we concede. And like a comment says there from MP, the crowd was quiet. You know, I can't hide away from that as a supporter that goes to games. You know, there's been a lot about the Anfield atmosphere this season, and I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the solution is, but for some reason, you know, we constantly let the away fans make the most noise, and for me, that's not right. So I don't know what's going on there, but the feeling amongst the fans and the supporters ever since I've been going to games is, you know, when we concede, you just kind of brush it off and you start chanting the team. I know some fans from other clubs will boo their team when they concede. We don't do that at Anfield. So I think we knew that we was gonna keep going and keep trying to find the goals to get back in front, and that's what we did. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the crowd, I mean, look, the team's not giving them a lot of confidence to get cheering. To be fair, this season, so they got to give them that. I don't know. Obviously, the crowd, the stadium's expanding. You're probably going to get more, you know, day visitors and stuff like that, and tourists at the ground now. But you know, that shouldn't be an excuse for an atmosphere. I mean, we've seen a few games already this season where the atmosphere was amazing. So, you know, the team. Look at the Liverpool Arsenal game. You know, as soon as we got back into that stadium was rocking. So, I think if the team puts a performance in, the crowd have got something to get behind, you know, and it's very hard, like when the team's been pretty much awful all season and you're seeing this
Yeah.
play out. It's very hard to get yourself up for it. So
Yeah,
I
and
don't
I
blame.
just want to say one more thing as well. Like, there's a load of crap on Twitter and social media, and like some people try and like gatekeep who can go to games, and
Yeah, it's
I
mad, ain't
think
it?
that's obviously crazy. Yeah, but
Yeah,
if you are gonna go to the game, just make some noise. You know what I mean? Like anyone can go to a Liverpool game. Like, I'm not a Liverpool. I'm not a Scouser,
no.
and I seem to go quite a lot. So anybody can go. That's absolutely fine. But if you are gonna go, just try and make some noise. Like when the boys are looking like they need some sort of encouragement from the crowd, give it them. And I think that's what we've always been good at, especially since Klopp came in. I remember the West Brom game. He got mocked for getting the lads to hold hands and go to the cop, but that was
Mm.
him linking the squad to the fans, which I didn't really feel like we had before Klopp came in. So I think, yeah, it's just important. If you're going to go to games, make some noise, sing the songs, and we'll push the boys through, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. Look, yeah, anyone can go to it. I never got that whole, like, if you want to be a massive, like one of the biggest teams in world football, you know, you be supported everywhere around the world and come to a game. It don't matter. But you're exactly right, though. Sing and dance when you're there, have a bit of fun and enjoy it. But some, obviously, look, I will admit when Jota, I've been a bit worried about Jota, and then when he came back, I was like, why is Jota straight back in the team again? And I got to admit now, I've seen what Klopp's trying to do. You know, I was a bit concerned for Jota at first, coming straight back in the team. You know, taking Darwin's spot. But then you see what Jota is about. He's got 4 goals in 2 games. He's got as many Premier League goals as Sancho and Anthony in 1 week. And but you see what he's about now. I understand what Klopp's trying to do. Look, people might have their reservations against Klopp's tactical stuff this season and all that, and I'm one of them. Hang on, let's get Cav in the show as well. Big up Cav. He read the, he got the message eventually. There he is. There he is.
How are you doing, boys? Good?
Yeah,
yeah,
cool,
you
mate.
doing good, man? You doing good?
Yeah, sweet. Good to see you, Ben.
Yeah, you too, mate.
Yeah, so we're just talking about Jota for a second. You know, I can see why Jota's in the team. When you hear Klopp talking about his press conference the other day, when he's talking about the best way to Liverpool win is counter pressing, and that is why Gakpo's false 9 at the moment, because he holds up the ball, he comes into deep positions, and he's very good at keeping the ball. He's very good at protecting that football and letting the team push up. Also, Jota on the left, he's a very good forward, as we know by the 4 goals he scored recently. Also, like Mane, he's a very good defender. And that is why that is the first choice front three. And I think that might be the first choice front three now with Luis Diaz till the end of the season. And I understand why Jota's playing. I understand what Klopp's trying to do now. Before I was like, right, whatever my reservations against Klopp this season, tactical wise, I think he's got things wrong this season, which every manager does. He's not perfect. But I've always said it, if a manager's got a system and you've got players in your squad that suit the system the manager wants to play, then play them players. I like Darwin Nunez. I think we all like Darwin Nunez. I know Cav loves Darwin Nunez. Like, we all like Darwin Nunez, yeah. And we can see he's got a high ceiling and he's going to be a top player. But right now, at this moment in time, it probably doesn't suit the system. So instead of him playing like full 90 minutes and that, you might as well play the players that suit the system, Cav, mightn't you?
Oh yeah, that's always the case though, ain't it? Always play the players that are in form. Always play the players that know the system best. My excitement around Nunez is I just think he's got bags of ability and potential, and I think the ceiling for this guy is massive. I think if he fulfills all of his potential, could be one of the best strikers in Europe, I believe. But at this point in time, yeah, the failings are coming in a lot of games in front of the goal and with the finishing, but mainly it is integration into the team. I think he gets in on goal and he gets so many chances just because of his pace and his physical attributes, and less so because I think he's really got into the system and he's really sort of linking up with his teammates as well as we come to expect with the forwards. So Nunez, it's his first season. The situation he finds himself in at the minute, just coming off the bench, is probably what we'd actually expected from the off. It's just with the injuries to Jota and Diaz, he's been, forced into the starting lineup more often than I think was expected. And look, he's done well, in fairness to him. First season, adjusting, not knowing the language. He's not got a bad goal record. His finishing could have been better, yes, but for a first season, it's not too bad. He's just gone back to now. It's not a case of him being dropped. He's just gone back to where I think his plan actually was, which is a good thing because that usually means that there's somebody performing better than him, which there is because Jota's in there and he's now got 4 goals in 2 and looks like he's shook off a bit of that rustiness. Looks like he's got his yard of pace back a little bit. Looks more involved in the games. And Gakpo has done well since he's come in as well. So it's all fine. It's all positive. It's not been this season, but the point we find ourselves now with Diaz back fit and stuff as well. For the forward line, everybody's playing well and everybody's, I think, where they should be at this point in time and this point in the season. And yeah, I agree with you. Just play the guys that know the system and play the guys that are in form. And at the minute, that's Jota. So let's just stick with that.
Look, I was worried when Jota came back into it because as soon as he was fit, he was straight back in the team again. I was like, he don't look great. It's been a year since he scored. Are we giving up on Darwin already? I think what you're saying is right, is that Klopp's gone back to something, not even last season, the season before. Last season we sort of played a different style of playing. It wasn't so much about counter press. It was more about build-up play from the back, nice quick passing, trying to get into the forward men. Different way of playing because Mane went and played centre forward. So it was a different way of playing towards the end of last season. Now it looks like the last few games he's gone back to what he previously did. He wants to play that counter pressing way. And Klopp said it himself. People have argued this, and it's a fair argument, but Klopp said it himself. It's not the midfield that's the problem this season. It's actually the forward line because you can only the press always starts from the front, in a counter pressing system. Yeah, it starts from the front. And before he had Mane, Bobby and Salah, who are probably the best in the world as a threesome up top at doing that. As a unit, them 3 were the best counter pressing front 3 in world football by any means. They were the best, man. They were the best. And when you lose that and you bring in a Luis Diaz who then gets injured, you bring a Darwin Nunez in and you go, right, Darwin Nunez is going to be our number 9 going forward. They changed the system at the beginning of the season. Salah and Diaz were wide, making Darwin a lone striker. Darwin don't like to play lone striker. He likes to play off the player. It didn't go quite right, but it looks like he's gone back to something that suits. Jota is now the Mane role, Gakpo is now the Bobby role, and Mo's Mo, Ben. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know people are obviously concerned over like Nunez not playing or certain players not playing, but the way I see it, and I said this before in another stream, in 1819 and 1920, you play midfield, mate.
Yeah.
I do actually, yeah.
There you go.
There we go then. But yeah, no, in 1819, 1920, like on all those seasons where we did well, there was always an argument where the drop off in terms of if Mane or Salah wasn't playing was drastic. And look, we have to obviously respect Divock and Shaqiri for what they did. They both did a job for us in their own way. Divock more so, but we are often comparing our squad depth to City's, who, when Sterling wasn't playing, they had Mahrez or Jesus or Ferran Torres at the time. They had all these options coming out the backside, and we didn't. So for me now, I'm happy that we are in a position where we seem to know what the attacking group's going to be for the next 3, 4, 5 years. We've sorted it now. Of course, we all know that we probably should have done that at the same time as buying a midfielder, but at least now one positive we can take is that we don't have to worry about that front line now. And whether Nunez comes in for a couple of games or Jota plays for a couple of games, it's a crazy schedule, isn't it, playing in the competitions that we do, especially if we go into the Europa League, which is even more games next season. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm happy with the players we have and the game time they've had. And like you say, at the minute, I think it's just sort of who Klopp can trust more, because I know as fans, we probably think top four is done, but we all know Klopp and the players, they're not going to think that way. So, yeah, they just need to go back to basics and what they know, and that's Diogo Jota for now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We just got to play the way. Just finish this season on a high. Just where we finish is where we finish. But finish this season on a high. There's no doubt about it. Would you say this is so? You're talking there about players like Origi and Shaqiri's that we had, and Taki Minamino's in the past, but we never really had. So Klopp's always had a front three of Mane, Bobby, and Salah, and they didn't get injured. They just played because no one was really good enough off the squad to take their place. Still, Jota sort of came in. Jota came in and sort of disrupted that front three, especially the Bobby situation. He sort of took Bobby's place for a while. Now you've got Luis Diaz there. You've now got Gakpo there. You've now got Darwin Nunez there. This is the first time Klopp's had a proper, serious depth in the forward area when he's been Liverpool manager. That's, quality. Minamino was a nice little player, don't get me wrong. Probably treated a little unfairly towards the end, but it is what it is. Origi's a cult hero. That's never going to change. But Klopp never really rated him, because if he rated him, he would have played him. You know what I mean? So, and Shaqiri, I think Shaqiri was rated, but he just kept getting muscle injuries all the time. So they couldn't really break into that team. And now we got like 5 forwards there that you could play a mixture of them in multiple different games. And, so it's going to be interesting for me, Kev, how Klopp's going to set up next season. I don't know. Like before, I would say I know Klopp's first front three now. The Gakpo situation now, him playing his false 9 role, has totally thrown me. Luis Diaz coming back from injury now. You'd feel like Luis Diaz would be his number 1 left winger, but I've got a feeling Klopp might experiment him on the right as well. So, how do you feel about this forward line going forward to next season? What do you think's in, and what do you reckon Klopp's going to do tactically wise next season with this front line?
I think I don't think he's got a clear front three in his head. I think this is purely just based on who's performing and form. Now, just going back to the previous point, I think Jota understands the old Liverpool system of pressing from the front, and the type of runs he needs to make, and where he needs to be when we're on the ball and off the ball. Obviously, Salah knows it inside and out because he's been there and he's played through it for years. Gakpo seemingly has come in and done quite well with that number 9 role. He's never going to be Bobby. I don't think any forward in the world could replace Bobby, but he's doing well to get close to that kind of player and that kind of false 9 role, and his ability on the ball especially. Then you've got the likes of Diaz, who is a bit, to describe him, he plays off the cuff at times, and he can do so much, but he still, I think, needs to sort of integrate with the team a bit more. I think when he first come in, all of like the things that he was doing well was just him picking up the ball and just running at people and making things happen. It wasn't necessarily receiving the ball off of a Trent cross and getting in behind and these kind of things. So that's what he would have developed this season. But obviously, unfortunately, he got injured. So his just natural technical ability and flair is what's exciting about him. But he still needs to do some work on integrating into the team, I think. And then Nunez, again, with his raw ability, his pace, his height, and his movement is an asset to the team as well. I think it depends. I think in an ideal world, they will stay fit, first and foremost, because we have to play whoever's available. And then you look at the games that we have coming up. I mean, we've got West Ham next, and that might actually be a game where he thinks I can put Nunez in there because they'll probably be spacing behind. So it's horses for courses. You look at who the opposition is, you look at who's on form, and you try and pair them up. Now, ideally, they'll all play together, but the likes of Nunez and Diaz, they maybe might make similar runs, you know, they might occupy the same areas. So maybe you have to work on that a bit more than, say, a Jota and a Gakpo, or a Gakpo and anybody. Because, you know, these players, they're individually great, but they've got to combine together as well. So there's loads of ability, and each player brings something different. It's just finding the right combinations with that. And to be honest, that's just something we should be excited about rather than concerned, you know. The nice thing is we've got options now, and I'm not concerned about anybody sitting on the bench, whether it's Nunez, Jota, Diaz, Salah. Some games I'd like to see, you know, not start on the bench, but, you know, I'd like to see him get rested, maybe put Diaz out on the right and just offer a bit of variety in the attack, you know. I'm not, like I said, I'm not concerned with anybody being on the bench. It's just options at the end of the day. It's just depth. And Ben talks about Man City and the depth they've got, and look how much they've benefited from that. So we just need to do the same, really. I just hope, though, that when the guys come in, you know, I don't think we'll do this, but I hope we don't chop and change the forward line so much so that they struggle to sort of find a bit of consistency with one another.
No,
it's going to be difficult to play Gakpo one week and then Nunez the following, because they do very different things. So I just hope that they get the time in pre-season and they start the season well enough that they get time to play together and build some good chemistry, because that's going to be key as well. Like the forward line of Mane, Firmino and Salah, they just knew each other inside out.
Yeah,
that level of understanding we need to kind of get with the forwards that we've got. Only we've got more guys to try and do that with now. But I think it will come, because they're all good players, and usually you find that good players can just play with each other naturally, can't they? But it's gonna take a little bit of time. At this point in time where we currently stand today, I do think the forward line that played against Forest is probably the best in that respect, whereby they understand each other's game the most. But we'll see. It's exciting.
Yeah, and that's what we want, Ben, ain't it? Competition for places. You know, we've always been moaning about that for squad depth. You know, look, if Mo's having a bad form, which it's mad because of the goals he's got this season, but I wouldn't say Mo's had a great season by any stretch of the imagination. At the same time, even Klopp alluded to that. You know, he's had better seasons, but then he's got goals galore, so it's hard to criticise. But Mo's got no one looking. Mo looks over his shoulder and says, "Oh, no one's taking my right wing spot." You know what I mean? You know, and you just need to keep players on their toes. You know, if Darwin's not doing it, well, you're out, Darwin. Jota goes in. You know, Salah's not doing it right. Salah going to be out for a game or two. We just go try Luis Diaz in his right wing position, and he'd be like, "Well, Luis Diaz in my right wing position. Well, that's a player." You know, so if he starts performing, I've got to keep on my toes. This is what we need, ain't it, Ben? Competition places.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously we were speaking off air just briefly about it, how players might have been getting away with a bit too much this season, and I think that sort of intertwines with that kind of thing. Some people have probably been getting a bit complacent with their positions, and obviously, you know, we're stacked for players that can play from the left. But we still don't really have another right-sided player. I know Ben Doak came in for a few games, but again, he's not going to displace Mo Salah, not yet anyway. But he did look very good when he played, to be fair, for those few games. I don't know. I think he got a few injuries after that. I'm not sure. But you're right. And I think the complacency is a bad thing. Of course it is, because you don't want your players to just think they can get away with anything and just go to the next game. Oh, it's fine. I'm going to start again, whatever. So I think it is important, and maybe we do need to sign somebody else from the right-hand side to kind of keep Mo on his toes as well. But I think the Mo thing is quite interesting, because I think the same. You know, I do feel like Mo's not really been anywhere close to what we've seen in the past. But then when you look at his season stats, he's close to, I don't know how many he's on, but it's 30 goals, isn't it? Almost. Maybe he equaled Robbie Fowler on Saturday. So, yeah, I mean, if that's a bad season for Mo Salah, what an absolute legend he is. So
it'd be interesting to see how he responds with a bit of competition, because he's never really had it, has he? I mean,
No.
his Liverpool career has been incredible, and he's obviously a Liverpool legend now, and the statistics speak for themselves. But for the first time next season, I do think he'll have a little bit of competition for his place, and I just hope that pushes him, back to his best, and does that. I don't think he's the sort of guy that's going to sulk and kick up a fuss. I think he will get his head down and make sure he's playing. But I hope it's a benefit to him, not in terms of his motivation, but also maybe he'll step out onto the pitch going, I can give 100% because I know if anything should happen to me, that there's a guy that can step in. And it won't be a conscious thing. It might be a subconscious thought that he has when he's playing like that. Because there's got to be an element for him knowing he's the main goal scorer, he's the main man in the attack, he's the experienced forward in the attack, and there's no one to replace him. He probably plays some games just kind of feeling a little bit like, oh, I'll give it 90%, say, as opposed to 100%, because I know how important I am and I have to play every week. Now, like I say, he might just find an extra yard, not extra yard pace, but an extra 5% in his game, just knowing that there's somebody there to support him. That's what we all hope anyway.
No, I agree. And talking about players that are finding an extra step in their game at the moment, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, he's gone to this whole new position, inverted fullback. I hate that word. It's such a shit word, ain't it? Inverted fullback. I mean, it don't mean anything, does it? But everyone says like Klopp's copied and all that. I don't care about managers copying managers because they all do it. It don't bother me. If you've got the players there to do it, just do it. Pep Guardiola copied Johan Cruyff. What Pep Guardiola does is from Johan Cruyff. If you're old enough, you remember Bob Paisley. We played with inverted wingers then, inverted fullbacks then. Go and look at Stevie Nicol at Liverpool. Stevie Nicol he scored goals, man. He was like a midfielder because he played in that inverted way. It's always been done. Now we've got a player in there in Trent at this moment in time, guys, who the last 3 games, I think he's got 4 goals, 4 assists in 3 games. Before that all season, he had 2, didn't he? He looks like he's enjoying life, playing in this inverted role, playing in that. He's on that right-hand side of midfield, ain't he? Like alongside Fabinho, covering the central areas of midfield. He looks at home there. He looks natural there. I said it on my show yesterday. For me, Trent is a better defender in midfield than he is when he's defending as a defender because his awareness is better in midfield because he can read the game better. If you look at Trent's interceptions, Trent is one of the highest interceptors in Europe, let alone the Premier League. Go and check his stats. He's very high in interceptions. He's great at interceptions. Liverpool's midfield is about interceptions, winning them second balls back. As I say, I think he defends better in that midfield area because he has to concentrate more. When Liverpool have 70% of the ball at times, sometimes, Trent, if he's playing that right back area, he'll start to move further forward because that's naturally what he wants to do. And his concentration levels for defending won't be as high. What do we do, Logan? I think the rest of this season, we just play like this for the rest of the season, Ben. We just completely play like this. No point changing it. What do we do next season, though? Do we look at Trent? Does Klopp, if Trent's excellent with this role in midfield, in that inverted fullback, I mean, he was basically midfield against Nottingham Forest, wasn't he? But if he plays this well for the rest of the season, his assists grow, he's ticking the ball over constantly, he's continuously moving the ball all the time, keeping opposition on their toes, he's got that killer pass. Does Klopp look at it in the summer and go, right, do I actually just go and buy a fullback now and think about putting Trent in midfield? Because he might make a problem for himself when maybe he didn't want to have that problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? And I know a lot of people have been saying this for a long time, that Trent could play in midfield, play him there, see what he can do. And I'm glad to see it, to be fair, because I think it's revitalized him. We've seen energy from Trent in the last 3 games that we haven't seen from a long time. And I'm not going to sit here and say Trent's immune from criticism this season. He isn't. But what I will say is I think it's been overplayed with how he's been. I think naturally a lot of goals are going to come from that side because it's not just him that's a weak link. It's the centre mid. It's the attacker that's not coming back. It's everything. All down that right-hand side. It's been a bit of a mess. And obviously Trent, we know anyway, isn't the best 1v1 defender. We've known that. But yeah, when I see him in this role, it does excite me, to be fair, because we all know how good this lad is. Like, we all know his ability on the ball is up there with the likes of Kevin De Bruyne. We know that. So if we can utilize his strengths by doing that, then I'm all for it to be there in the future. Obviously, we know that off the ball, he is still coming in at right back. So I'm not sure what the plan is with that, whether we'll buy another right back or not. But 100%, if this is where he's looking like he's going to be able to be more of himself, his more creative self, and not be, rinsed every game because of the lack of cover that he's got ahead of him, then I'm for it, at least until the end of the season, and then we'll assess it then, going into next year, because I wouldn't say like it saves us money because now we've got Trent and it's like that old cliche, it's like a new signing. I'm not saying that at all, but what I will say is it does sort of answer a problem that we have had, where we've not had a creative spark in midfield for a long time. And, you're waiting for Thiago to come back every other month with an injury. Without him, we've not had that. So it's really good for me. I've seen it in the flesh now as well, which was something I was really looking forward to, sitting down and watching it on Saturday. And you're right, the 4 assists in the last 3 games, I think it speaks for itself. And he'd not looked the player that he's looked in the last 3 games all season. So it's certainly something I think that he'll be excited to do more, because we all know he came through as a midfielder anyway. He only played at right back because I think they said it before, didn't they? There was no space for him to play midfield when he was a kid, and we didn't have a right back. So they had to make him a right back. And I think that's also something people don't forget. People don't remember when they criticize Trent, that this guy he's not a natural right back. So I don't think he's done too badly at all to say he had, he came in the age of 18. He had to learn a new position that he never played before. He was breaking assist records from that position. He's been the most creative right back I've ever seen in the Premier League. And now if his future is in midfield, that excites me even more. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I agree. Kev, your thoughts?
I love him in this position, to be honest with you. I think it will be something we continue with, and I think it will be something that continues to have a positive impact on us. I don't think the system is foolproof, as in I don't think it will last as long as maybe the 4-3-3 has. I think it will at some point be figured out, because although Konate is an exceptional centre-back and he covers that space really well, and Trent at the moment is really motivated and is covering his defenders well, and you can tell he's enjoying the game again, so he's willing to run more, which means he's covering them defensive areas better than he has done this season. I do think that space will eventually get found out and exploited. But for now, until it is, I think we run with it. And to be honest, it's nice in a game against the side that you feel like you should be beating, especially at home, because most of the time they've got men behind the ball. So you can afford to we always say have an extra forward on or an extra creative player. Well, why not just make one of your defenders who is that creative, your midfielder, because like we've seen against Forest for most of the game, we don't need, I know our fullbacks play high and wide anyway, but you don't need 4 defenders effectively. It sounds ridiculous, but you don't. Just lose one of them, because we have so much control and possession in the game. Just get the creative guy in areas in and around the 18-yard box, which I've mentioned before. I believe he is the best player in our squad around the 18-yard box, because he'll pick someone out in the box. He'll take a shot on. He'll get to the byline and pull it back. His range of passing. He doesn't just cross. He picks people out, So I'd love to have him in and around them areas. I think it's something we tried to do at the start of the season, actually. Can you remember doing post-match reviews and wondering why Trent was playing as like a centre forward at times and running beyond the striker? And we was going, what the hell is this? This has got to be instruction, because you can be all disciplined in terms of your positioning, but this is wild, where he was going.
Yeah, because Klopp weren't getting angry with him, was he? So it had to be.
And I think it's something that they've looked at and gone, he has so much ability that we want to get him closer to goal, and we want to get him in areas where we can just get more and more of that out of him, and he can continue to add goals as well as assists to his game. But it just didn't work out for whatever reason. Maybe injuries, maybe just a bad start to the season. The team was not functioning as a whole, and I think they just reverted to putting him back into that right back position and covering off that position. Because if you can remember, back to the first half of the season, that side of the pitch was being exploited. So clearly it didn't pan out. This time round, we've done it slightly differently, as in we've made sure Robbo's staying back, tucked in. Konate is now fit and available, which he wasn't at the start of the season. And it's more of play in midfield, but just be a bit wiser to where you need to be positionally. So he's receiving the ball off the sort of centre backs and being more of that sort of 6 role, as well as then advancing into 8 positions, as opposed to playing as an 8, moving into number 10, number 9 positions, you know. So I like it. He's blessed with ability. We always see that long range switch, you know, 45-degree angle ball from fullback to fullback, you know, picking out a forward, running across the centre back. We've seen that no end of times. He's crossing from deep. But what we can see now is the passing with his left foot, his outside of the foot, not just hitting it across the pitch, what's in front of him, but actually reversing passes. The amount of times in the past few games we've seen that ball into Salah where he's hit it the outside of his foot and played it down that channel. I mean, that's so difficult for the opposition to try and read. You just think the man's going to pass it to where he's facing, and then he's just reversing passes and stuff. I mean, the creativity from that centre spot is incredible. So, like Ben mentioned, it is De Bruyne level passing, you know, De Bruyne level assist that this guy can do. So exploit that, because you've suddenly then got one of the best creators in Europe, you know, in an area that he's able to go and do that. So I think it's really exciting. And then you've got all the other things that go with it. He's a Liverpool lad and he's happy. And as long as we keep him happy and motivated, he's possibly going to go on to be a future captain and these kind of things, you know. So it's great for him.
I agree. And I've said it for a while now that Trent, what you should do with footballers is hide their weaknesses and show their strengths. Yeah. Like every player's got a weakness. But unless you're Messi and you're weird. But otherwise, everyone's got a weakness, you know. And Trent's strength is creating. Trent's strength is getting on the ball in forward areas, finding a killer cross, finding that killer pass. No one in our team can do it like Trent. Probably Thiago, and that's about it. And I think
Thiago can. I don't think Thiago does. That's the thing.
Maybe, Trent does it
maybe
more.
That's. Yeah. I don't know why that is, but whenever I think about Thiago getting them assists or hitting them such creative little dinks into the box and nice crosses and things like that, I don't think back to Liverpool days. I think it all happened pre-Liverpool. Yeah, so when you think about the player to do that, it's Trent. He does it every single game. Even when he was bad this season, he's creating 2 goal-scoring chances a game or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with Thiago, I think the thing with Thiago is maybe the system more than him personally, but possibly, you know, with Trent, look, I look at him and I think if we continue him at right back next season, I think no matter what players we buy in the midfield and what way we play, if we're still playing 4-3-3 and it's counter pressing. I think because the issues at Trent at right back for the last 12 months or so now, I don't think they're going to go away next season straight away. I think teams are still, like I've always said, if you play Northampton Town tomorrow and Trent's playing right back, the manager will tell you, the Northampton players, try and get in around Trent, wait for him to evade the space, try and take him on. He'll always give you something. And I don't know if that will always continue going forward, because look, Trent is 24 now? I don't know how much better of a defender Trent can actually become, because I don't know if he's actually improved that greatly as a defender since he came into the team, because it's hard to judge, because when he came into the team, we were such a functional unit that the back four never really got attacked on. So, you know, everything was superb in that area. It's only the last couple of years where the midfield started to fall apart and, you know, legs are starting to go and can't run and protect like they used to and counter press. So now everyone's getting exposed a bit more. So I don't know how much physically better as a defender Trent's actually got in that time. And if I'm going for I always say it like this: if you've got a 24-year-old right back on the market, but he can't defend, why would you buy him to be a right back? It makes no sense. But when you've got someone like Trent who's got this attacking quality, who was brought up as a midfielder when he was a kid, you know, and the only reason he was made right back is because Klopp looked at him in training and saw something he could use as a right back. And then he came into the Liverpool team maybe a bit early because of Klein's injury, and then had to learn on the job as a 19-year-old in a top team. So you got to give Trent some credit for that. But I look at his game and I just feel like Trent can do everything in midfield. What I like about what he does, he keeps the ball moving constantly. You know, even if it's a 3-yard pass here, a 3-yard pass there, a 2-yard pass there, what he's doing, he's waiting, he's getting hold of the ball, moving it around. He's always scanning, looking round, and then he's waiting, you know, a 2-yard pass there, a 3-yard pass there, and then it's a ball into Gakpo. You know, and we got, what other midfielders we got that does that on our books right now? And I don't understand the negativity of having Trent in midfield. I really don't. The last 3 games I've seen him play in that midfield area, I've said it already, he defends better in there than he does at fullback because he's scanning the game and he's reading the game better there. So he's intercepting the ball. I don't know if Klopp's got, for me, Ben, Klopp's got a big decision to make on this Trent thing because it might be an excuse of not buying another midfielder, but I'm sorry, if Trent can be made into a midfielder, he will be one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. There's not a shadow of doubt about that. So, does Klopp try it? Is he? Do you think Klopp's contemplating it right now?
I think this just proves that anything's on the cards. Really, everyone on Twitter and social media has been saying how stubborn Klopp is, and he won't change. He's this, he's that. He's naive. He just picks what he wants, and he never changes it. But I think this has proven that when it does get as bad as it has been this season, he is up for change and he's up for looking for new ideas. And obviously, the first game against Arsenal, he was good in this position, but that game against Leeds was probably our best midfield performance of the season by some distance. I know it's easy to say it's Leeds United, but let's not forget they beat us at Anfield in the first game. We've lost and dropped points to teams around 15th to 20th all season long. So, you can say it's just Leeds, but also remember we have struggled against those teams as well. So, look, I like I say, I'm excited for it. I'm not sure if this is going to be 100% the way we go. I think it will depend what we're doing in the market, because I know we're obviously looking good, at least from what the reports say from Mac Allister, but he's more of a left centre mid, more of like a Thiago type. Obviously, Grav and Birch links aren't going away. So it is interesting, isn't it, to see if that is something they're looking at in terms of if we can't get Jude, which I know there's a lot of talk about him again. I just wish it would go away now. I kind of took myself away from it, told myself it wasn't happening, and now it's all I see again on the timeline.
They're putting that rod back in the water,
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it, mate. But one thing,
the worst thing that can happen is Jude stays at Dortmund, because I'm not doing another season of this.
That's what I think. That's what will happen.
The best thing is that Jude. The best thing is that Jude stays at Dortmund. I'm telling you. I said this on my video about a month ago. Jude Bellingham will stay at Borussia Dortmund and sign a new contract and get a release clause. Yeah. Jude Bellingham wants to play for Liverpool.
100%. And just before we move on from Trent, the one thing I will finish on is, like I said before, he's my favourite player, right? And I've got a massive soft spot for him, and I will defend him all the time. And sometimes, I have been guilty of defending him too much. But I think the one thing I will say is the people, i.e. the pundits on Sky, the guys on TalkSport, that have literally just slagged him off all season long, not even just this season, even other seasons gone by, when he's been the absolute by distance the best English right back in the Premier League. It's so easy for them to criticise him when he gets dribbled past somebody that's got skills, and look, that can happen to anybody. Wan-Bissaka, we're told, is the best 1v1 defender. Well, look what Bobby Firmino did to him at Anfield, absolutely destroyed him. So that can happen to anybody, no matter how good or bad you are defensively. So what I will say is, if you are going to sit there and criticise him when it's going wrong, you've equally got to be positive and praise him when he deserves it, and he definitely deserves it for the last 3 games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, I've said it many times before. I don't think Reece James is that good defensively as people make him out to be. I've seen him give up on when people run past him. I've seen him give up so many times. Also, with Reece James, he's a bit like Trent. He's not as good as a back four right back. He's better as a right wing back, Reece James. Every time I see Reece James playing right wing back, he looks fabulous on the ball. Great little player, Reece James. But when he plays full back in a back four, he's not the same player. He just ain't. But the Trent agenda won't go away because the media have made something it is now. And I've seen people go for Trent when Liverpool conceded a goal on the left-hand side. It's got nothing to do with Trent's side of the pitch, and they have a go at him.
Well, you asked the question, will Klopp persist with him? Is Trent going to let him put him back in right back?
He might not have a choice.
Trent looks like he's really enjoying that position. I don't think he will want to go back to right back. And to be honest, one of the biggest criticisms that you can have with Trent, more so leading up to the World Cup, because when he came back, he did improve in this sense, was he looked bored. He lacked motivation. He didn't want to track back. and everyone was questioning, is there something going on with him personally or what? He just looks like a shadow on the pitch, like no emotion or anything. So now he's in midfield. It's the complete opposite. Looks motivated, wants to run, wants to get on the ball, wants to make things happen. It's then that feeds into willingness to run back and defend and stuff. Why? Because you're in the game, your blood's flowing, you're alive, you're enjoying yourself. Why would you want moving back into the right back position where it will have a negative effect on all of that? I believe. I think he'll just go into that right back position and think, okay, I've got to wait till I receive the ball again to make things happen, as opposed to being a midfielder that offers yourself, goes and gets the ball and makes things happen. I think now Liverpool really have to see it through with him in that inverted right back midfield, call it what you will, position, because I think for him personally, he won't want to go to right back. And if you think about it, is what is he not great at? One-on-one defending when he's up against top forwards actually isn't bad at all. He's defended out some of the left wingers in the world.
Face on.
Yeah,
it's
he's okay.
It's the in behind stuff, ain't it?
He's okay. It's when the games, it's when the forwards are really intelligent around him and they run off the back of him and he's not aware. They're getting into the back stick and he's not aware and things like that. But to be honest, I'd rather have a player that's not aware as my second defensive midfielder, if you like, because then he's not in on goal. Actually, it's in on a centre back or in on that left channel whereby your centre back can come and cover you, and by which point you've recognised that, hold on, he's ran beyond me. I'll turn around and make sure I'll cover my fullback. I'll cover my centre back. Sorry, or depending on where the opposition is, where the left winger is on the ball, you can maybe get back and put a challenge in. So I think actually defensively, you kind of take away that thing that Trent isn't so good at, where it's like the game's happening around him too quickly and he's not picking up his man. Because like I say, I think it'll be time for him to get back. So I see it as a positive. Like I say, I think when we come up against the top teams, we will see a different performance. That's why I say I don't think it's foolproof, because at the minute against these kind of sides, he can dominate the ball. The left wingers aren't that great. So when they do get a break down the left-hand side, he's able to recover and put challenges in and stuff like that. But against the very, very top sides that have pacey wingers, like say you've got, I mean, they're going to have season, but say you come up against Real Madrid and got Vinicius down that side, that's a lot of space for that man to be running into if the play in the build-up's quick as well. So I do think
competent right back. That's what we need. Just get a competent right back.
I think that's what I'm saying. I think we run with it because it seemingly looks like the best kind of system we've got moving forward. But I do think next season we'll have certain games where it doesn't quite work out and we might need to tweak it. But that's all you can do, isn't it? Is go with the system that you know works best for you in the majority of games.
Well, let's say this then. Let's say, right, next season, Klopp can't help it. He has to play Trent midfield because the way he's playing, and Trent ain't giving him a choice, right? We know we desperately need midfielders in the summer transfer window, and we are going to buy players. I think Alexis Mac Allister, for me, I hope he's the first one through the door. I love that guy. I think he suits our way we want to play as well. He's very good on the counter press. He plays counter pressing for Brighton, so he'll be used to that system straight away. Also, his work rate is fantastic. South Americans' work rates, you can never complain about that. His work rate would be tremendous. But also, he's got the quality to go with it, the quick feet. I would like Alexis. I don't know what the price would be. I think they're quoting between 50 and 60 million.
60, I think it is, yeah.
I think that's his money. I think that's his money, and that's what you pay for him. Obviously, the Mason Mount stuff today, we've heard from David Ornstein that it looks like he might stay at the moment. Todd Bowley's had a conversation with him, doesn't want him to go. So let's put that on the side a minute because we're not quite sure there. The other midfielders we've been linked with, they're not. The pond's getting smaller, shall we say, as the days go on. I think you got a today. You got that ain't going to happen. I don't think we're after a number 6. I literally think it's Mac Allister. I think Liverpool want Ryan Gravenberch, personally. I don't know about you, Ben, but I think Liverpool really fancy Ryan Gravenberch, and he will. I know you got to go. So, what do you think on the transfer situation? Ryan Gravenberch, Mason Mounts, Mac Allister's. Who do you think seriously Liverpool might bring in the summer?
I was on the tube train, mate, for well over a year. That's not what I wanted. I was telling people all last summer, don't worry, we're not going to sign anyone because Jude's going to come through those doors in the summer. And obviously, everyone's been telling us, even Paul Joyce, who, whose word is biblical to us. And is it done? Is it not? Who knows at this stage? Who knows if it's a smokescreen? Who knows if it's going to happen? Who knows if it is true that they have pulled out? I have no idea. But if we are just basing it on the fact that that's not going to happen for this summer at least, Mac Allister is the one I want, because Thiago Alcantara technically is the best midfielder I've seen at Liverpool since Xabi Alonso. And he's just got one issue, which is his fitness issue, and he's not available anywhere near as much as we would love him to be. And I just think everyone's so obsessed with this right centre mid spot, which is okay. Yeah, it's a glaring issue. We saw Henderson drop a playing at right mid. It's not really cut out for it anymore. But I think also an issue which not a lot of people are talking about is just constantly waiting for Thiago to be fit. And I think if you can get in somebody with a similar profile, a lot younger, for when Thiago's contract runs out, because I don't think they're going to extend it. I think he's got one more season after this. I think that would be a huge positive, and Mac Allister fits that bill. So he's the one I hope we sign for, I think it's 60 million. Then you're looking at Ryan Gravenberch, who again, people are questioning because he's not exactly played that much football at Bayern Munich, but we've got to cast our minds back a year ago. He was put in the same breath of air as Jude Bellingham's of this world and all of those top young players. So obviously for a reason, and it might not necessarily work out one club. That doesn't mean it's not going to work out for us. So he's obviously one that as well, I think Bayern are a bit hard to deal with. But those two, Mason Mount, I'm not 100% against. When I see Henderson taking up those positions against Forest, I know who I'd rather play there out of Mount and Henderson. So I know a lot of people will melt down about Mason Mount. I don't particularly want him. He's not in my top 3 or 4. But if we did sign him, I think it would make sense if we are going to get that centre mid to go out wide. But we just have to get it right, mate. I think this is the biggest summer of a very long time for us now. We similar to the attack, we knew it was Mane, Salah, Firmino. We knew the midfield was Fabinho, Wijnaldum, and Henderson. And obviously, that's coming to an end now. We'll see Wijnaldum's left. Fabinho and Henderson are not the players that were 3 years ago. So, we put a whole transfer window on hold for a certain player who potentially isn't going to sign for us. So now we need to redeem it, make up for it, get the right signings in. Not panic buy. I think that's always important. I always tell people that I don't want us to panic buy and just get any random player. But I'm positive, and I know a lot of people are a bit cautious when it comes to Klopp and the guys deciding who they want to sign. That's their opinion, but I still trust the manager. I trust that he's more clever than people on social media, and that he will get the players that he wants. And that's all I've got to say, mate. But I have got a dip now. I've got 5-a-side at 1:30. So really appreciate you getting me on, mate. And I'll jump on again soon for a longer chat.
Yeah, we'll get you back on soon, man, for a longer chat. No worries. Let everyone know where they can find you before you go, so they can know where you
go. So my @ is there on the screen, SMXLFC. I did a podcast for the Anfield Talk. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably follow. If you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we are trying to get to a K. I do have a YouTube channel as well, but I'm not going to lie, I've not done anything on here for a very long time. So the Anfield Talk is the best place to find me on YouTube. And my @ is on the screen. And also, sometimes jump on Chris's channel along with, I don't think me and Cav have ever been on the same stream on Chris's channel, but what happens to
you. I brought you together. There you go.
Take care, boys. I'll see you
soon. Good to see you, Ben.
See you later, mate. See you later, mate. See you later. Yeah, I mean, the midfield situation next season, Cav's going to be mad. Like, who do you think? Like, who do you like? The players we've been linked to, obviously Mac Allister lately. I did the watch along for the Man United game Brighton yesterday. Mac Allister and Caicedo were the 2 best midfielders on that pitch by a country mile. I like Mac Allister. And the Mason Mount story has been very, it looks like there's a lot of truth in this Mason Mount situation at Liverpool. Very, very interested in him. If he is available, I do think Liverpool will go for him. I think it's going to split the fan base, but I think it's one of them players that might actually be a gem under Jürgen Klopp that we all come back to years later and go, yeah, he did a job. And then you got Ryan Gravenberch, which I think is a superb player, and if you can get him, he's got the makings to be a great player for us. All depends what Bayern Munich do rather deal with, like Ben said. So what do you reckon, my man? What do you reckon? Especially if Trent is going to play midfield. You know, who do you think plays alongside him?
Stefan.
Yeah, Stefan. You just want to see you want to see Thiago, Stefan, and Trent in midfield, don't you? That's the...
No. Obviously, I want us to sign midfielders, right?
That's techie, by the way.
But I am also really looking forward to seeing Stefan now. Only based on his age, can I understand the reason why he wouldn't start and that he would be like a bench player for us, say, if everybody's fit. But based on performances, right, and what he did coming into a failing Liverpool side, the kid was great in both the 6 and the 8 position. Now, he was great covering the pitch, challenges, control of the ball, linked up well with the teammates around him. We probably, in the signings that we make, want somebody with a bit more in the sort of offensive play, let's say, which is where Mac Allister is a really exciting prospect because he seemingly can do it all and he can chip in with goals and he's quite, a creative, neat player around the box as well. So I can understand that. But joking aside, I do actually really want to see Stefan play next season quite a bit. Shame he got injured. For me, the 2 Brighton lads are the standout ones. I know it's an obvious thing to say. They're the names that's been bandied around for a few months now. It's the ones that we will talk about. There is good players out there, obviously, but those 2 are just, they seemingly control every game they play in. Caicedo, I thought, was incredible against United. Like, so confident receiving the ball from the goalkeeper, turning, playing simple passes, driving past midfielders, breaking the lines, and then playing it to the forwards. Defensively solid, covers the pitch well. He's a brilliant player, but I think that it looks like he's one that's less likely to happen. I think there's probably other teams above us in the league at this point in time that are perhaps more interested in him or got more chance of getting him. Arsenal's been strongly linked. Maybe that's the London factor. I don't know. Mac Allister, I think, is a great little player as well. I'm confident that them sort of players, Mac Allister, could come in and definitely do a good job and improve Liverpool. I think that much is guaranteed. But I am also there's this little bit inside me that's wary that a lot of players look good at Brighton at the minute. They're a club that's seemingly from top to bottom doing things really well. The owner, the recruitment, the team, the manager, everybody's performing and it's all really positive there and the team's playing exceptional football and having a great season. But that also means they're getting the best out of these players as well, and I'm just I'm always a little bit wary after seeing Bissouma leave and seeing Cucurella leave that actually these guys at the time looked like incredible. Cucurella looked like one of the best left backs in the league. Not had a great time since going to Chelsea. Bissouma, we were all clamoring for because we thought that energetic midfielder, bit like what Caicedo does at the minute for Brighton, that's what we wanted. And when he went to Spurs, we were all really disappointed. And obviously it's not panned out for him. I know he had off-field issues as well. So I'm always, a little bit wary that when we're interested in these players. I'd love to get Mac Allister in, but at the same time, I'm like, make sure that we don't go crazy with the fees. If it's between 50 and 60 million, that sounds reasonable. But if Liverpool go out and sign him for 70, 80, I think at that point you start to go, hold on a minute, he's a good player, but not a seasoned, veteran in this league. We are going off, one and a bit good seasons. And he's at a club that's getting the best out of him. He understands the players around him. He understands what the manager requires. It's all very positive. The expectation for Brighton is a lot less than Liverpool. Liverpool hopefully will be in Europe next season, so he'll be asked to play a lot more games. This is coming into a side where there'll be new players in there as well. People still trying to find their feet. So circumstances are different. I think he's got the ability, definitely, to improve us, like I say. But I just think let's only get these players at the right prices because there are others out there. I think back to the one of the, speak about Gravenberch in the same kind of ilk, that kind of age, that Yunus Munsah that's at Valencia. Watched him for the USA in the World Cup. He looked like he was a player, quite energetic, similar kind of profile, and had a good season at Valencia, from what I'm led to believe. So there's others out there, and I just think we need somebody. We're kind of looking for that player that can do a bit of everything. We want the guy that's energetic, that can cover the pitch, can put in a challenge, technically good on the ball, and hopefully can chip in with goals and assists as well. So, we ask a lot of our midfielders, and there is some obvious names out there like the Bellinghams and Casados and the Mac Allisters, where they can offer so much in that position, but they do come at a price. So. Yeah, I like you said earlier, I think we do get some of these players, and it, like I say, it will push us on and it will help us. So if it's Mac Allister, yeah, I'm dead good with that. Every time I've watched him, I've been impressed. Just that ability on the ball, to drive, ball carriers. We don't have any ball carriers at Liverpool. People that actually pick. I know Trent's an incredible passer of the ball, as is Thiago.
Only Luis Diaz, really.
Just somebody in the center of the pitch that's going to receive the ball in the center circle and just actually drive through the lines, and then once they engage with the defense, we'll play it off to a forward or maybe play a neat 1-2 and around the box or something. I just want to see that, because we've just not seen it for a while. We've got ball holders and ball passers, but ball carriers I would like to see in that midfield, and I think that's what he would bring to us. Just another dimension to how we can build up our play. I think it's quite exciting.
No, I agree. Like, it's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Now, obviously, this Bellingham stuff's not going away. So, I thought the Bellingham stuff was dead and buried. Then you hear lately that last couple of days that this Bellingham story is not going away, that Jude Bellingham wants Liverpool. I honestly think there was something in it that Liverpool made a bid for Jude Bellingham. I'm starting to actually think that actually happened, because too much is coming out in the last couple of days about it. I think Liverpool did try have an attempt at putting in an offer for Jude Bellingham, and then they were told by Borussia Dortmund, no, it's going to be 140, 150 million. And Liverpool were like, we ain't paying that for him. I'm sorry. It's 80 million or nothing. And then there's articles coming out that Liverpool valued Bellingham at 80 million at last summer, and that's what they offered. Now you're getting things coming out about Bellingham might stay at Borussia Dortmund and sign a release clause, and that release clause will be around the 80 million mark. It's a strange one, this situation. Personally, I think if Jude stays at Borussia Dortmund this summer and does have that release clause in it, like the rumours have been saying, then he has to be Liverpool's player the summer after. He just has to be, the way everything's going on right now. But they have to get their work done this summer. And this summer, as you say, I love Mac Allister. I watched him yesterday. And yes, I like Casado as well. I think Casado's Real Madrid bound. I think Casado might be going to Real Madrid, because they need a proper DM there. They're trying to Tchouaméni at the moment, but they're not quite sure on him at the moment. Casemiro left, and I think they want a proper DM. For me, this kid gets in any team in world football right now. He is
Who's
that
sorry?
Good.
Jude.
No,
Casado.
Casado, yeah.
I agree. I think all the top clubs will be looking at him.
I think he's that good. He gets. I think at Man City he'll probably play somehow again with Rodri with Man City. I think he's that good, and I think he's looking at Real. I wouldn't be surprised if Real Madrid are not looking at him. And I know he's been talking about Real Madrid lately, and the price he's going to pay. I think Real Madrid are definitely looking at him. With Mac Allister, if it's 60 million, I'd be going. I think 60 million is Mac Allister's value. I think he's a top-notch player. He's got that work rate that he suits us. He can play that counter pressing because he plays it at Brighton right now. Mm-hmm. He's got that South American work rate that we love. He's at a good age. I think he suits us down to a ground. The Mason Mount stuff. Look, Mason Mount's going to be one of them players that is Marmite. You're either going to love him or hate him. A lot of the fan base hate him already. What do you want? What do you want, little girl? Just comes and little girl, my daughter. It's not any little girl. By the way.
It's not a random daughter.
Jesus, that's me done there, ain't it? That's me done. But yeah, I think Mac Allister would be excellent for us. I think Mason Mount would actually be pretty good for us, in the Klopp system. The way look, I think Ben was talking about earlier, where Henderson's picking up these right-hand side midfield areas at the moment. Yes, Henderson's work rate is going up and down, he runs all day, but his quality with the ball recently is. I don't know about you when you was watching the game the other day, Kev, on Saturday afternoon. You could hear the Anfield crowd actually groan sometimes when Henderson was slowing it down and passing it backwards. And I've never heard that before with Hendo. And I think if you put Mason Mount now, I think Mason Mount will have a bit more quality on the ball in them sort of situations, in them areas. So it'll be an improvement. I don't know. I think Liverpool know who they want. And all these rumours that keep coming out about this player, that player, that player, that player. I think Liverpool have got it down to 3 players out of a possible 2 that they want. I think they're looking at Mason Mount. If he wants to leave Chelsea and decides he's going to leave in the summer, he's Liverpool's. I think that's done. If not, they'll move on from that. And I think Mac Allister's the other one. And I think Ryan Gravenberch. I know Ryan Gravenberch is Bayern Munich have come out and said he's not for sale, and Thomas Tuchel likes him and wants to play him, and he's yet to play. And then you got Conrad Laimer coming in, who plays in Gravenberch's position, who's going to be signing a big signing on fee, big wages. So you're going to want to really play him probably in front of Gravenberch. So I think Bayern Munich are just haggling. They want a better deal. They don't want him to leave too cheap. So they're playing the card game. I personally think, I have a feeling it's going to be Gravenberch and Mac Allister in the summer.
I think Gravenberch is an exciting player, but he is still young. And I think coming into a new league, obviously played for Ajax, then went to Bayern. But the Premier League is different to both of those leagues. So there will be a settling in period for him, which I'm willing to do for the right player. But I do think that next season we need to try and sign a couple, certainly 2 out of the 3 midfielders that can sort of come in and push for a starting place, if not be starters from the off, basically. And I think Mac Allister is definitely one of them. Premier League experience, seeing the quality in both the World Cup and the Premier League. I think just the sort of style of play that he is, and this sort of style of football that Brighton play, I think it would be a good judgment to make that he can just come and slot into that sort of left midfield position, kind of where Curtis has played for the past few games, I would say. Whereas Gravenberch, yes, has the ability, yes, has bags of potential, but can he just seemingly come into the side and play from the start of next season? I don't know. Will remain to be seen. And that would just be my only concern with him. And if we made another signing like him, it's like, how much time can we really afford to sort of wait on these players to settle, especially when, Diaz, who's been out, is going to come back into the side, and he needs to sort of get used to playing with the new players around him, like Gakpo that's come in and stuff. Gakpo's still settling himself, although he's seemingly done really well. Nunez is still settling. Stefan, who might come back into the side, is still getting used to the team, although seemingly done really well. It's a new position to Trent. So there's a lot of changes in that side, which is both exciting, but also just needs time to sort of develop. And like I say, these players need to get used to working in this system and together. So I just hope that we make signings that can just have enough quality that they just come straight into the side, and that's it. But I'm not sure if Gravenberch would be. That would be my only concern. But he looks like he's got loads of potential. Like Ben said, like before he went to Bayern Munich, he was being talked about as one of the best sort of youngsters coming through in world football. So it's not panned out as he expected it at Bayern, but I think he's still got that ability. I think he can still be a real top player.
Yeah, Gravenberch was as highly when he was at Ajax. He's a similar age to Bellingham. I think there's only a year difference, half a year in it. And when he was at Ajax, he was as highly sought after as Jude Bellingham was. There's a lot of people who think he's got as high ceiling as Jude Bellingham. It's just that Drew's playing more games, so it's more noticeable right now. I think Graham Birch, even at 20 years of age, I look at I've seen the way he plays. I've seen a couple of games at Bayern Munich, saw the games at Ajax, and I look at him and think, Jesus, he gets in our team. He literally gets in our team. Alexis Mac Allister gets in our team, and they're improvements to the squad because they are first team. I want 7 first team midfielders. That's what I want. I don't want to get a squad midfielder who's not quite good enough, but he's there for the squad. I want 7 first team midfielders that you can interchange at ease, and it doesn't, the drop ain't from there to there. There's hardly any drop. Everyone's like for like, and you keep going. And Ryan Gravenberch at 20, I think he's a perfect player for that. He's a good age for the club. He'd be a project player. Mac Allister a little bit older, a bit more experience, obviously winning the World Cup, got Premier League experience already. Flies in our team. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And then you've got to remember, we've got Stefan Bajcetic there. I think we'll have a big season next season. You've got the Trent situation, whatever we're going to do there. You've got Fabinho still about, which, look, I'm hoping Fabinho just has a great summer off, goes back to Brazil. Alisson maybe baptizes him. Something, so, it just chills out. He does nothing for 4 weeks before we come back for pre-season. And he doesn't. And we see a bit of the old Fabinho again. I'm willing to give Fabinho one more chance. I think Klopp wants to give him one more chance because we've not really been linked with DMs, have we?
No, not really. Not truly, no. I mean, there's been a lot of names that the fans have kind of put out and circled around sort of Twitter and social media and stuff, but nothing that's really come from like journalists and stuff. So, interesting, because I would say that's one of the positions we definitely need to strengthen it. I know as well. I know from like Trent will sort of occupy them areas and be more of like your ball player from deep, but in terms of an actual destroyer, somebody that covers the pitch and just shields that defense, which we kind of expect from Fab. I thought we would go out and sign somebody as his replacement. So, sometimes silence is good though for Liverpool. See, we have pulled out deals before that have kind of just come out of nowhere. We've kind of been linked to midfielders, linked to players, and it's acted as a bit of like a smoke screen, and we've gone out and signed somebody else. So maybe it's a little bit of that. If it's quiet, I won't be too concerned. I think Liverpool obviously looking at deals at the minute. And Klopp said himself, they're actively working on finding these players.
There's definitely things happening. Big up Mantra. Jane, what do you think about Thuram? I've not seen him much. I actually watched Nice. Was it Nice Genk the other day? Who was it? It was Nice and somebody in the Conference League. It was a good game of football. You've seen all the players Nice have got. Like these old English players over there just enjoying the summer. Yeah, it's mad. But no, I saw a little bit of him. He looks decent. Liverpool been linked with him, but I don't know if the links are completely true with Thuram, I've got to say. Big up Sean on the Super Chat. If we are selling players in the summer, who are they? Because I've not heard of any interest for any of them. Your thoughts? Good question, actually, because...
That's a good point, yeah.
I don't know if we're actively trying to let people leave the club. I mean, if you look at Bobby...
We never do.
No.
We never force anyone out of the club, really. Not unless you're Sacco.
And that's, exactly. He's the only one who almost got left at Alcatraz. Apart from, he did, didn't he? He turned up late at Alcatraz for that meet and greet, whatever it was. And Klopp was like, I'm leaving him on the rock. We ain't coming back for him. Let him swim on. And that's the only time I've seen Klopp really ruthless like that. I mean, how long did it look in theory for us to get rid of Origi? He just left because he didn't have a contract no more.
Yeah, I don't think you can use the terms get rid. We don't get rid of anybody. People just choose to leave. That's all it is.
Bobby Firmino, we're trying to keep Bobby Firmino. Bobby Firmino, if Bobby Firmino decided tomorrow, knocked on the boss's door, he went, boss, I've changed my mind, I want to stay at the football club. Klopp would be like, great, here's the contract, sign it.
Yeah.
He's not being forced to leave. Milner is not being forced to leave. Same with Milner, he knocked on the door, went, you know what, I want to stay. There's the contract, sign it. No one's actually been forced. I think Ox and Naby are. But apart from, I think if Ox knocked on the door, I think it would be locked.
Yeah.
But I think them two can definitely. I think actually Naby, if they could, they might sign Naby up. If he accepted a deal, because they did offer Naby a deal. He just didn't accept it.
I think the only way that would ever happen is maybe just to retain, well, not retain
His value
again, to then move him on. But we've got way too much to start.
Just retain, but I've not heard of them offering Ox a deal at all. So Ox is obviously the one they thought that time's up. But it's true. Who are we going to sell? Because we have to. Look, there's players at our club that do need to go. Obviously, I think Milner will leave. Bobby's obviously leaving. Ox is leaving. Naby Keita's leaving. So them four are going, but they're off their own accord. And then I think Nat Phillips will leave this summer. I think finally Nat will go. Nat's been trying to go for a while now, but every time it's a transfer window, a defender gets an injury and he has to stay. So I think Nat's like, can I go now? Can I actually leave? So I think Nat will leave. I think Reece Williams, I think, will leave as well.
I think so. Yeah. I think Sepp will come back in and take one of them spots.
Yeah, well, Sepp Manenberg is having a good loan. Is he in Germany at the moment? Is he in Germany? I think he is. He's having a good loan season anyway. And it's interesting who we're going to get rid of. I'm trying to think. I don't think there'll be that much.
Well, that's why it's a really good question, because I think what we know is that Klopp doesn't like to make wholesale changes to his squad. He doesn't like too many ins and outs, does he? And with the guys that contracts are running out, there's 4 there that are already leaving. So I think he's not going to want to, turn over many more than that. And then at the same time, like we just said, we don't actively look to sell players and move players on to try and get money. They often come to us and say they want a different, they want to move on to get a new experience, or the contract runs out. So I think it generally could be that the 4 players that we mentioned leave because their contracts finish, and then we get rid of some of the sort of players that are not really in match day squads. So Kelleher's a good one actually. But again, I think Kelleher's the one whereby we definitely don't want him to go, but he might turn around and say, "I want more first team football."
I think the club have said they don't want to stand in his way because they realise how good of a goalkeeper he is. But there's been rumours that they want to put him out on a 2-year loan. That's the rumours I've heard recently that Liverpool are looking in for goal for a 2-year loan. Because they think he'd be ready to take over Alisson eventually as Liverpool's number 1. And if he goes on a couple of year loan somewhere to a good club, be their number 1 for a couple of years. It happened with who was it? The geezer at Real Madrid right now, played for Chelsea. He was number 2, and he went on loan to Atletico Madrid for a couple of years, didn't he? And then he finally came to Chelsea and was their number 1. The Real Madrid keeper right now. His name's gone right at my head. Courtois, yeah. He was Chelsea's number 2, behind Czech, I think it was. I might be wrong there, but he went to Atletico Madrid for 2 years on loan. They didn't sell him. Then eventually he came back and he became their number 1. And then obviously they sold him later on to Real Madrid. But maybe that's what Liverpool are looking at there, because I think it would be a mistake selling Kelleher.
Yeah,
I think it would be a mistake selling him because
I think we definitely got to get. Well, I think he's homegrown as well, so there's also that this summer that we've got to remember. If we do sell him, I just hope we put a buyback clause in there, because a 2-year loan is fine, but Ali's probably still going to be here and is still a top keeper in 2 years as well. So. It might need to be a bit longer than that. So then you've got to think about a buyback if we do move him on. But
the thing with letting Kelleher go, we're going to have to get a number 2 in. And it all depends what our budget is. So it's a weird one. I can't think of any other players they've even taken. I'm trying to think right now. Unless there's a surprise player that comes from nowhere, like a Mane or like last season. Unless there's a surprise, but I'm trying to think of anyone in midfield.
You could. I don't think it'll happen, but you could get a situation where like a Barcelona come in and say we want Thiago.
That is the only one. I have mentioned that recently because the Thiago thing's interesting. He's got a year left in his deal next season. And there was something on Twitter last week from a reliable source saying that Liverpool might not look to extending Thiago's contract, which I find mad. If we extended Milner and Henderson's, we can extend Thiago's. You know what I mean? Yeah. Can you imagine we've extended Ox's, Keita's, Milner and Henderson, but Thiago were like, no, that's the final straw. We can't do that. But what do Liverpool do with Thiago? This is a good point, because if Liverpool are looking to get in a Mac Allister in, say, and you keep a Curtis Jones, you keep an Harvey Elliott, you got a Fabinho, you got another, say, I don't know, a Ryan Gravenberch, you got a Stefan Bajcetic, and Trent's playing midfield. You could afford to let Thiago go. There's no doubt about it. Barcelona, I think, are very interested in him. Could that be the surprise one, maybe, out of everyone we got? Could that be the surprise one that leaves in the summer?
I think it could be, yeah. It's one of those where it'd be a surprise, but at the same time, it wouldn't. It would make sense. He's how old is he now? What, 30? He's going to be 33 if he's not already.
I think he's 31. I think he's 31.
Is he? Well, I mean, he's got a year left. He does miss games through injury. I think the Liverpool side next season, or I think Thiago should be seen as sort of a luxury player. I'd like to think that we can function and get wins without him and not reliable on him, because he is getting on and he's not reliable in terms of being available. So the club needs to sort of move on past Thiago, to be honest. People need to push him out of his spot. A bit like how we talk about Henderson and Fabinho. The reason they've been playing so much, Milner, sorry. The reason they've been playing so much is because there's the guys that are meant to be there and performing aren't. So I would say it's the same situation for Thiago. There should be good enough players in this Liverpool squad that mean that he doesn't play and he becomes surplus to requirements. And then he's got to look at where he wants to finish up. I think you just brought up comments and he said he wants to retire at Barcelona. Makes total sense, obviously, where he started his young career. So with a year left on his deal, I think that Liverpool maybe will learn from their mistakes and not, if an offer comes in for a player, they maybe take it and not let him walk out on a free again, which seemingly happens quite often. So, I don't think he will go. I just think if there's strong interest from a club like Barcelona, I think Liverpool will probably entertain it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think Thiago could be the one. I think Thiago could be the one. Curtis Jones is playing him. Look, Curtis Jones is taking Thiago's place right now. And Thiago plays on the left of the midfield three. He don't usually play. He plays there when Henderson and Fab are playing. So, Curtis Jones. Let's talk about Curtis Jones a minute. 4 games in a row for Curtis now. I think that's the first time he's played that many games in a row. Maybe one time before that, but I can't remember it. He's injury free right now. He spoke about his injuries publicly. He said that he's getting ankle, shin splints and ankle problems and stuff like that stopping him moving and stopping him running. The eye injury last season derailed his whole season. So he's had unluckiness where this is concerned. But he got fish hooked in the eye. Apparently his eyeball detached from his retina a little bit. That's how bad it was. He got proper fish hooked.
I think it was serious because they said he'd only be out for a short while, and it went on and it went on and it went. And I think they were trying to not reveal how extreme it actually.
They were worried about his sight at one time. They were worried about his sight at one time. So he's been unlucky, but he's played 4 games in a row now. I thought Saturday weren't his best of the 4 games so far, but he was still decent. What do you make of young Curtis Jones? Because it looks like he's taking Elliott's spot. Elliott's not in the team right now. And I think the reason Elliott's not in the team right now is because the system we've gone back to really doesn't suit Elliott in midfield. But Curtis Jones, and people have always told me, Curtis Jones is more techie than Harvey Elliott. He's a better footballer than Harvey Elliott. But right now, they might be right. He's what do you think of Curtis Jones? Do you reckon he's going to be here next season? Is it going to be a loan deal for him? We're putting him in the shop window a little bit. Or do you think Klopp's looking at him now and thinking, right, let's give you the rest of the season. There you go. Try and change my mind.
No, I think he'll be here next season. Yeah, the homegrown thing for starters. Just sign a new contract. Come up through the academy. There's a lot of sort of belief in Curtis. It's just been his career staggered a little bit because of, like you mentioned, he's not been available enough. He's not managed to sort of play games consistently to sort of build on performance and integrating himself into the side. He's had a bit of a chance now with the sort of Thiago being out, even though he is seemingly back fit and available, I think Curtis has played well enough to sort of keep giving him a chance and ease Thiago back in. But the thing how I assess Curtis now is I just would like to see him fit and available in the match day squad, whether it's off the bench or starting games, and just put in solid performances where he retains the ball well, he covers the pitch well, he's good both, you know, defensively and then offensively when he gets the chances. I've lowered my expectation when it comes to goals and assists with him, because I think that will come the more he plays. I don't think he's ever going to be a midfielder for Liverpool that's going to get 10 plus goals in a season. But I think as long as he can be a bit of a facilitator for the other creators in the team and more offensive players in the team, I'm okay with that, because I would expect us to sign players and have players at Liverpool that, to be honest, they're better quality. So then he becomes like your squad player. And for a squad player, I'm totally fine if he's putting in the performances he has done in the past 4 games. I agree. The last game against Forest wasn't amazing, but he kind of did a job, and that's where I kind of level him at for the wages he's on. The fact he is a homegrown player, the fact that he can still develop, still work on his game. I'm all right with that level of performance out of a guy who I see as a bit of a squad player. I'd rather have that than paying somebody like, not to dig him out, but you have somebody like Henderson who's going to be a squad player next season, you'd hope, but is being paid a lot more money. I think you kind of get the same, different players, but I think as a squad option, you kind of get the same out of them both. So I'm pleased for Curtis. I think he does have ability. He's good at holding on to the ball. Often been used as a bit of a criticism for him, but this season we've kind of cried out for players that can hold on to the ball and give us a bit of control in the midfield.
Definitely.
You know, the part of the reason why we've improved in the past few games, yes, we've played Forest and Leeds and we expect to beat these sides, but for large parts of this season, teams have really squared us up in midfield and outran us, outpowered us. It looked like a big gaping hole in our midfield when we were being attacked on. So we've sort of regained that control, and I do think that there's an element of that down to the fact that Curtis can retain the ball. You know, you give it him, he holds on to it, you know, he'll sort of back into a defender to hold him off, and then he'll play it sideways and stuff. That's a good foundation to have, you know, and then he can build on that. Then he can start to build confidence, drive through midfield, carry the ball, start to trust himself when he gets in and around the 18-yard box to maybe try a bit more of a risky pass and play somebody in. Maybe try and take a shot on, you know, shift it and take a shot on. That comes with confidence, and confidence is built on playing games and performances. So I'm all right with where he's at. I hope that he can kick on next season. Kick on this season, continue to play this season till the end. Have a good start to the following season. But like I say, I'm not expecting goals and assists from him. I think as long as he does a job in midfield and facilitates the better players around him, then I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. I mean,
I think sometimes we look at. I know he got goals and assists in the younger age groups and stuff, and that's what we're kind of expecting. And I think I'm one of these fans where I'm like, I really want a goal scoring midfielder. I want a number 10. And you kind of look at Curtis and go, that could be you, but he's never available. And then obviously he has in the past held onto the ball too long and slowed down attacks and these kind of things. But I'm not judging him like that now. I'm not judging him as like a young wonder kid anymore. I'm not judging him as like, oh, maybe he can be on like, Elliot when he was breaking through, like Carvalho, like that excitement young player, like ceiling's dead high. I'm just like, no, I've accepted the kind of player that he is. And the kind of player is just a good squad player. And still in the back of my mind thinking he could even improve on that still. So I think, with the situation with Curtis, I've just lowered expectation and just be pleased with what you get out of him as long as he stays fit.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think Curtis is a decent squad player for us next season, no doubt about it. Jesus Christ, what the hell is going on here? Right,
I think him and Elliot are different players, though. I think Elliot usually occupies that right midfield position, is a left footer, so he naturally comes inside. And with Trent now occupying that midfield position, maybe Klopp just looked at it and went, they're going to occupy the same kind of areas. I don't think that that's going to necessarily work. And maybe that's why he's not featured so much recently. He's also played, I think up until like 4 or 5 games ago, he played minutes in every single game this season. So that's a lot of football for a 19-year-old. Maybe they're just managing him as well. So I wouldn't say it's so much that Elliott's been dropped. I just think maybe the system and just giving somebody else an opportunity is why he sort of finds himself on the bench.
Yeah, I've been saying that as well. I think the system right now don't quite suit Harvey in that midfield area the way we want to play. And I've been saying it. If players suit the system, play the players that suit, and you'll win games of football. It's as simple as that. You know, players. You know, you don't want to I can't say that word. Shoehorn a player into a system that he can't play in, because it shows the player up and it makes the player not look as good as he actually is. So yeah, you don't want to do that. But right, let's go for the big question. Let's do the big question now. The big question. I should have got a special music and a bong for it or something like that. But the big question, Cav. What happened? What's gone wrong for Liverpool this season?
Wow. We have to pick one thing.
I mean, go for anything. I've been like, I personally think there's a mixture of a lot of things. I think you can look at the ownership with investment in the summer. I think you can look at Klopp making mistakes in the summer as well. The players probably laid down tools a little bit this season, and I think the players have got away with it. Let's put it that way, because all the talk has always been Klopp and the owners, Klopp and the owners, Klopp and the owners. I do think the players got away from it a little bit. So, yeah, what do you? Because I see like there's a little change. We've gone back to something the last few games, and it's like, oh, it's the old Liverpool a little bit, like the Forest game. I said to Ben at the beginning of the video, I said if that game happened 4 weeks ago, I think we end up losing or drawing that Forest game. But something changed in the last few weeks where we've got a bit more of our old fight back again. You know, and so what do you think's gone wrong from summer to where we are now?
I think a lot of things. Recruitment for one. You know, we didn't recruit well enough in the summer to support the players that we have or the quality we have in the squad. I think we didn't start the season well. We had a few bad sort of results, and there was never really that momentum that got kick-started. Injuries, we can't. I know it's an excuse people don't want to hear, but it has played a massive part. Look how strong our bench was at the weekend, and that's exciting, and everybody fuels into that excitement, the fans and players. I think, Klopp's been stubborn, but at the same time, I think he's trying to give things enough time to sort of play themselves out. You know, when we talk about loyalty with players, I think that sometimes that is a rightful criticism. At the same time, I think players need time to sort of find their form again. So you do have to sort of continue to play people that seemingly aren't doing what you expect of them. And I think a reluctance to kind of change systems and formation earlier. We went to a sort of narrow diamond, I remember, in the Champions League, and we sort of then went to a 4-4-2, and then we went back to a 4-3-3, but it all seemed to happen a little bit too late and not really consistently. You know, we did it for a few games and then went back and stuff as well. So a lot hasn't gone right. But one thing I would just point out that I think has been a massive thing for why we're not in the top 4, and I think it's just a lack of motivation. Because these Liverpool players, yes, they're tired, and yes, some of their qualities have sort of diminished and stuff, but there's still so much quality in the squad. I feel like every kind of preview we do, we say there's enough quality in this team, in this lineup to go out and win this game, and then they don't, you know. And I think the squad, they didn't start the season well. You know, we got draws against Fulham, against Palace, and we started the season wanting to win the league, and we knew we'd have to be almost perfect to beat a team like Man City. And when you draw games and you already, you know, drop points and you're off the pace, it's a bit like, this is going to be a grind again next season. And then we got injuries on top of what we already had. Then we had the new players, you know, Nunez headbutts Anderson and he's out and stuff. So it all becomes a bit of a mess. And before you know it, I think the players felt sorry for themselves a little bit. They're looking at the system, and that's not quite working as it usually would. You know, the press isn't quite working as it usually would. And I just think the players, you said down tools, it maybe was a little bit of that. I don't think it's a conscious thing. I just think they just got themselves into a rut. And I just think they needed fresh legs. They needed a new system. They needed new ideas to kind of get them something excited about again. And it never really came up until this point where injured players have come back and we've seemingly changed the system. Now it's like, oh, this is something we can get behind. This is something we can believe in. And suddenly everyone's kind of excited again. That goes into the fan base. I think Liverpool, we talk about the power of Anfield and how the fans can rally us on and get behind us and suck the ball into the back of the end. We've all experienced it, especially on European nights. But I actually think when you have a season like this where there's so much going against you, I think the expectation of Liverpool can kind of weigh heavy on these players' shoulders as well. They can't go hiding. They still got to go out there every week. And even though they're not quite performing, they can't go through the motions. They'll be heavily criticised, which they have been this season. So I think it becomes a bit of a snowball effect. And like I said, I think they just got themselves in a bit of a rut and they've struggled to get themselves out. And I do think that some players are sort of not good enough for us now. I think that there's too many miles in the legs. I think that much is true. But I do think there's players in this squad you've seen in recent weeks that are like, hold on a minute, you weren't playing like this at the start of the season. And seemingly now you look back to not back to where you were last season or seasons gone by, but not far off, you know. Fabinho looks like he's improved slightly. You know, Jota has come back from injury. Everyone's like, oh, he's not quite, you know, he's lost the yard of pace, not quite in it. Seemingly he's like, we're starting to look at the positives of him and going, he's a guy that's actually a really good finisher and a bit of a pest in the box. Salah's not finding himself quite out wide anymore. We're looking at going, oh, do we need another option? So suddenly he's finding himself more central and involved in build-up a bit more. You know, suddenly he's starting to talk about Trent, a new position maybe has aided that, but motivated, getting in on assists again. Robbo looks a bit better. You know, people were talking about taking him out the side and putting Simi in. You know, Virgil's not had an amazing season, but he's picked up form. I think the second half of his season has been slightly better than his first half, you know. So suddenly these players are finding a bit of rhythm again, finding a bit of form. And I think largely that's come through players returning from injuries and the system change. And I think that comes down to just a bit of motivation, a bit of excitement. You know, I don't think the players don't look bored anymore. They look like they believe in achieving something again, not this season, but next season, you know. So that's all positive. It's a good thing that we're playing well towards the end of the season. It's a good thing that we seemingly got a system we can run with. It's good that players are playing back into form. The key thing is not mistaking that and think everything's okay. Making sure that you build on that with the signings that you make. So playing Curtis on the left side of midfield is great. Ball retention type player, you know, does a job in that midfield. And then you can look at it and go, we'll play exactly the same system. But instead of Curtis next season, we'll have Mac Allister, who's a similar type of player, but just that bit better and a bit more offensively. So you're building the blocks for success next season in your final sort of few games this season, which is, you know, a positive thing. And suddenly we're all feeling a lot better about our club than we perhaps did a few weeks ago. So, you know, it's the added old thing, isn't it? Winning games can change your outlook on everything. But let's just hope our fortunes change and we have a better season next season, because this one's been hard work, trust me. I mean, I feel for you, Jamie, having to speak on Liverpool this season, because even if, you know, like I watched some of the Chelsea fans and they're a bit like, terrible season is what it is, let's move on. But with us, we have a terrible season, yes, we have terrible games, and then we just put out a stellar performance against like United and Bournemouth and Napoli. And like,
it's mad.
Like, what am I meant to believe here? Like, stop giving me hope. If you're going to kill me, just put me out my misery, please.
Exactly. We've had some record-breaking wins this season. It don't make no sense. Part of me thinks this is just part of me thinks this is the blip and we'd be far better next season. And we could shock people next season but much better we are. But I'm not sure. I think going for the quadruple and going to Singapore for pre-season was the wrong idea. I think we would have been better if we stayed at home for pre-season last summer. I know we had to go. It's not to anything to do with the Klopp. This is about the club, money, going to Singapore. I know what pre-seasons are about, but hot, humid country, in that. What? Okay, go and sit there then. Oh, 1 second, guys. 1 second. All right. Stop moaning at me, woman. You're not old enough to moan at me yet.
This is the real life of content creating.
Yeah, this is it. This is it. Right. Go and take my phone downstairs. She only wants my phone. That's all they want. It's money or phones. That's it.
Trying to check up on them Jude links. That's what it is. She's in Jamie's emails and Twitter DMs. Find out what the ITK's got to tell us.
What's going on? But yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I feel like the season was such a hard season for them boys in last year. Trying to do everything. You win, you try, and then you got the Champions League as the showpiece event of the season. Then, 10 days later, you're going on pre-season. It's just, I wonder how we would have been if we just stayed at home for pre-season and did something at home, or just stayed in Europe. We ended up going to Singapore. They've got to do a lot. It's not just about playing the games there, is it? It's about meet and greets and, all that sort of stuff. And it's tiring. I expect, if you ask the players, I bet none of them would want to go after that season they just had. I bet they'd rather all just gone on a day and come back to pre-season at home and just have a home pre-season. And I think that is part of an issue as well. I think the players were very tired, but I can't keep that as an excuse because I think I think Virgil spoke about it and some others have spoke about it as well, about the tiredness. Thiago spoke about the tiredness and exhaustedness of going for a quadruple the season before is affecting the boys. But if you think it, you're going to be it. I mean, if you think you're tired,
that's so true. Yeah. I'm not one for sort of manifestation and stuff, but it's when you kind of you go into sort of a game day at the weekend and you've trained all week. It's going to be difficult because a lot of your teammates are out. It's a bit of a mixed squad. You work on things. You get to Friday, another man's dropped out, and before you know it, you're going into that game already with excuses in your head, as opposed to going into that game going, I back myself. I feel confident. We're in good form. We're going to roll these over. Before you know it, that little bit of doubt just starts to affect your performance. And then obviously giving away the first goal all the time just didn't help, did it? Because every game just seemed like a mountain to climb, trying to get back in behind. I think the forward line as well, we can talk about how bad we've been defensively, but the forwards sort of misfiring. Salah's got Salah numbers, yes, but Jota's not had a 20-goal season. He might go on to, actually. He's in good score form now, but, he's not. We missed his goals. Nunez still finding his feet. Gakpo obviously come in the January transfer window. Diaz out. Before you know it, you're 1-0 down in games, and you're like, yes, we're 1-0 down, but in years gone by, we'll be like, yeah, but we'll score 2 or 3, so it's fine. Whereas this season, it's like, I'm not sure if we'll get 1, because we create chances, yes, but they're few and far between. And then when they are coming, we're squandering them. So before you know it, you have weeks of this kind of mentality, and it starts to wane on you. And then this is us as fans, the players feel it. And then you go to Anfield and it's quiet because there's anxiety in the crowd. In fairness to the fans, I think they've stuck by the team quite well this season, especially the away support. But it all just feeds into it. And I think it just becomes a bit of a depressive place. I think it's not been the most exciting place to be this season, has it?
No, exactly.
That's the beauty with football. Results can change all of that, and you win a few games and suddenly you just feel so much better. You feel so much more positive. And that's just what Liverpool need to do. Just need to keep the system, try to keep the same team if they can, and just build on these performances, start to really get that belief back into the squad.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just want to finish this season the best we can. I don't care where we finish now. If we finish 5th, that's where we deserve to be at the end of the day. But I want to finish this season on a high going into next season. I don't want to limp into next season. Try and win every game. Why not? Our fixtures are quite kind. I think West Ham is going to be a difficult game now. West Ham have picked up a bit of form. They got to another European semi. They won 5-0 the other day. So they're going to be in good form. So that's going to be a difficult game. We can beat West Ham away. We've got Tottenham at home. Tottenham everyone's worried about the new manager bounce. Well, they just appointed the same geese they appointed last time. So
it could be worse. We could be Spurs fans.
They got that. They got that Mason geezer back as their manager again. Harry Redknapp was begging for the job, and Levy was like, "Nah, that Mason kid. He was my manager last time. I'll give it to him again." So, yeah, I'm not too worried.
I've never heard of a caretaker manager being sacked. You know, I mean,
caretaker manager got
sacked. Help me out if this has happened before. Now, how do you sack the manager and then the guy that you get in just to literally just, I don't know, open the doors to training every day and
it's
just
the manager.
Oh yeah, tell everyone to put the cones out. These are the tactics that I've got from Conte. He left them on his desk before he went. Like, how do you sack that guy?
So they sacked the caretaker manager.
Why did you sack him? Surely you just employ the new manager, right?
Well, they sacked a caretaker manager to sign another caretaker manager. It makes no sense. It's the most It is literally the most Spursy thing you can ever do. And they're breaking news. I don't know if anyone's just seen it on Twitter, but Pochettino's accepted the Chelsea job. So, Pochettino's going to be the new Chelsea manager. So, I mean, and everyone went, "Oh, Pochettino." Tottenham fans like Pochettino won't go there. He loves Tottenham. Yeah, he don't give a shit. He's getting paid. You know what I mean? He don't get. So Pochettino looks like he's going to be the new Chelsea manager. That's all done. I think they're saying there's going to be probably be a press conference or a news thing tomorrow. But yeah, Tottenham are over the shop, and now our fixtures. I think Villa at home is our next hardest game, second game not to the end of the season. So. And then we're away to Southampton, last game of the season, who could already be relegated by then. So Liverpool's fixture's quite nice. I'm not saying top four or anything. That's gone now. Newcastle winning the other day, done that. Yeah. But just finish fifth, have a really good end to the season. We're going to Europa, and then you go into next season feeling a bit more fresh, my man.
And nobody release any books this summer.
No books. I'm sick of buying them.
Tell you what, if Kravitz comes out or fucking John Hackenberg or someone releases a book.
No, John Hackenberg's got a book out. Hackenberg's got a book out.
When did he release that?
This season. He's got a book out.
Right. If you're going to release it, do it now. Because when this season finishes, I'm not hearing this. I'm not hearing this next season. I can't hear about books. I'm not hearing about Jude next season. I don't care. It's about Liverpool winning games, and that's it. Because I'm sick of this. The amount of times we had to talk about that man that's behind you this season.
Oh man, it's just. Oh yeah, I swear he's got a book. I swear he's. Hang on, let me just.
Do you know who can release a book? That throw-in coach. Because what does this guy do, right? Because he clearly ain't teaching us how to defend throw-ins. Did you watch that last game?
It's on, hang on, I've got it here. It's on the Liverpool website. I'm going to share it. Here you go. Oh, it's 20 quid. It's a Mersey mission. Oh, the man's got a book. Big up to him. Big up.
Big up, John.
You know, Pep Linders is having volume 2. Do you know how much that sold? That sold record sales. That's having
for the wrong reasons. The wrong reasons.
That's having volume 2. That's volume 2's coming out in the summer.
You know, Pep's playing 4D chess here. Releases a book, has terrible season, somehow makes the attention on him, and everyone's like, it's because of this book. Goes out and buys the book. And then this guy's
it's just, making money, loads of money. It's just like, volume 2's coming out, man. Volume 2 is coming out. I don't. Bobby Firmino should write a book before he leaves. I'll buy that.
I tell you what, though, it won't be too long until we have to have, the farewell sort of tours for these. I say these players. Bobby gets his own, and Milner should get a recognition as well. But
yeah, Milner. But I do hope Bobby plays the last game of the season at Anfield. I hope he plays the second.
He deserves his own. He deserves his own send off.
I think. I hope he ain't injured now for the rest of the season. That'd be sad, man. That'd be sad. And James Milner as well. Look, no matter what people think of James Milner, he's been a great servant to his football club, and he deserves flowers as well. But yeah,
Mm.
no more. That book is more scary than the Satanic Bible. Yeah, no more books, Liverpool. Klopp, do not even think about it. Right? Do not even think about it. Right, guys, we're going to leave it there, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it. And thank you to Cav for coming on. Thank you for Ben coming on as well. Really enjoyed that. It was a good Liverpool chat. Tomorrow, guys, we hopefully got Cal from Coppish on, so we've got a big video tomorrow night as well. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon as well with the Jürgen Klopp press conference. We'll be doing that, reacting from that. Wednesday night, guys, we've got a big show Wednesday night. We're doing a double watch along, so we're doing Liverpool, West Ham. Also, we're doing Arsenal and Manchester City at the same time. So I'm going to need more eyes on the. They'll be having cans of Monster like you wouldn't believe to keep up both games. So a lot of stuff coming up on the channel, guys. So hope to see you all there. Don't forget the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Until then, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.